The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Saskatchewan Pulse Growers and Nodulator XL.
I'm Lindsay Smith with RealAgriculture.com. I'm joined by Holly Gelech with BioVision Seed Labs. Let's talk pulses.
Absolutely.
Let's talk the importance of testing that pulse seed, and then what are we doing with that, with the results?
Okay, so important part of testing pulse seed is really to make sure that you get it done. That's the most important thing. Now, if you work on the most comprehensive package that we would have, which would include germination, full fungal scan, cool stress test, as well as a kernel weight used for seeding, you're looking at no more than $1.25 an acre. So really, from that perspective, is something that we really recommend doing. It's your best management tool that you'll have.
Right, absolutely. And really, when margins are tight, I know it's you start to look at where you can shave some money, but let's talk about maybe looking at it more as an investment, as say working at using that to develop your your target plant populations, your seeding rate. But what are some of the diseases that you're looking at that could potentially impact either maybe your plant stand or a problem down the road that might require some remediation?
Absolutely. So what we do in our laboratory is we do a comprehensive fungal scan, which is a 200 seed plated analysis. We grow the seeds on the agar, which is an ideal growing media of sugars, as well as a number of different nutrients for the seed itself. And within 5 days, we will have fungal activity. So colonies producing, including spore production. So at that point, we then analyze to see what kind of seed-borne diseases we actually have on the seed. So there are a number of ones that we see in peas. The most predominant one by far is ascochyta. Now, ascochyta is a very serious disease in crop. It hits late in the crop season. It's distributed quite often by the residue that is in the soil and distributed from the residue up into the plant through really translocation during rainy periods. Right. So it moves from leaf to leaf to leaf. Right. So from a perspective of seed testing, we quite often see ascochyta, and we see the levels up to and onward beyond the 20 to 25 percentile. Now, that is very important to note, because what you're doing is, if you're going to plant that seed, it's going to bring additional inoculum into your soil. So, and again, so it may not actually impact the growth ascochyta of your actual seedling, right, but what it will do is it's bringing that inoculum in that could infect the plant later in its growing period.
Right. So, and certainly if it hasn't been a big issue for that field, you may be introducing it to that field, or you're guaranteeing that it's going to be there with that seed in that field that year. So certainly long-term issues. Now, would you say, though, that are there certain diseases you might see in that screen that you might recommend a farmer find an alternative seed source?
Well, absolutely. With ascochyta, again, if you're looking at that 20 percentile mark, you want to look at what other opportunities are there for seed. Now, in some years, there's not a lot of seed sources, so you may have to look at making a decision to plant another crop or utilizing that seed source. But one of the other things we include in our fungal scan is a fusarium ID. So fusarium, which does produce root rot in the plant, it can happen at multiple stages. So the root rot caused by fusarium can impact the seedling in the early growth stage. Okay. So what it can do is it can either slow the seedling right down to halt, or it could actually kill it. So you're really reducing your plant stand. Also, what it can do is it can then also impact the plant later in the growing season. So it's actually starting to flower, starting to pod, and actually impact the plant at that time. So the fusarium ID is something that is quite new in the marketplace, but we are seeing that it is impacting the quality of the seed. So that is something very important to be watching.
Great. Thanks so much, Holly.
Thank you.